Kwangu, thank you so much for your time on the lead this afternoon. We don't have an official statement yet, but this is what we understand. How are the news being received there in Zambia?
Oh, yes, Clement, about half an hour ago to 45 minutes ago, the streets of Lusaka and the rest of the country is awash with this information that our founding president and first president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, has passed away. As you have said, we are now awaiting an official statement or announcement that will most likely come from the incumbent president, Dr. Edgar Lungu. So all indications are at this time that Dr. Kaunda has passed away, but we are awaiting that official statement.
So the information that we had earlier this week, Kwangu, was that he was admitted in hospital for pneumonia. He was at a military hospital. There have been questions around whether or not the illness was associated with COVID-19. Did we ever get clarity on that? Because the statement that was sent out wasn't quite specific on the particular illness.
Yes, Clement, that is correct. There was a statement about 2 days ago that he was suffering from pneumonia at the Maina Soko Hospital here in Lusaka. This is a military hospital. It's actually along Independence Avenue, just a few hundred meters away from the president's official residence, that is State House. Yes, more speculation on that, whether it was associated with COVID-19, that has not been confirmed. So we will go by what the official statement a few days ago saying he was suffering from pneumonia says.
Yeah. How are Zambians going to be remembering this founding president of Zambia? He ruled Zambia from 1964 when the country got its independence from Britain. Let's talk about some of the things that he was able to achieve, or some of the things that Zambians have in the past celebrated him for.
Okay, as you know, he was affectionately known as KK, which stood for Kenneth Kaunda. Yes, he did rule us from independence in 1964, and he will be fondly remembered by a lot of Zambians. He is the founding father of this nation. I mean, when we all have great memories about Dr. Kaunda. In his era, there was free education, we had quality health care, which was free. He also helps neighboring countries such as yourself in liberation struggles. We can talk about Zimbabwe, we can talk about Namibia. I mean, it's endless on the continent. He was one of the founding fathers of the Organization for African Unity, which is now known as the AU, the African Union. So Dr. Kaunda will not only be fondly remembered here in his home country, but worldwide, and specifically on the African continent.
Yeah, I mean, Zambia was the home for a lot of our liberation, activists as well, and a lot of them often tell stories of how he played a role in just protecting them and creating a home in Zambia. When he left government, Kwangu, what has he been up to? Let's look at the last couple of years. What has he been up to?
Well, if we talk about the last 5 years, I mean, he was 97 years old as of now today. But he had aged gracefully. He hasn't been seen in public much. I did have the opportunity of having an interview with him 2 years ago. And during that interview, it took us about 3 days to shoot the interview because of his age and his memory. But it was fantastic to see him. He did sing his traditional Tiende Pamosi song. And also, his mantra was one Zambia, one nation. Meaning, he didn't want any tribalism in this country. He wanted us to stand together as one nation. So a lot of people know that mantra, one Zambia, one nation. And it is associated with our founding father, Kenneth Kaunda.
Yeah. So when you spoke to him over the 3 days, what are your fond memories in the time that you interviewed him 2 years ago?
Okay, definitely they were singing the Tiende Pamosi song with him. He got out his guitar, and the two of us sat together and we sang that song. And just when I arrived at his residence, he had this thing about, he would come out and greet you, and then he would do a bit of a jog. He always used to do that, so he did that as well. He also blessed me with his handkerchief. I knelt on my knees, and he put his hand over me, and he blessed me and the whole camera crew We talked about the African continent then. This was, as I said, 2 years ago. We talked about the land issue in South Africa when you were talking about the land issue in South Africa. We also talked about Zimbabwe and the late President Robert Mugabe. We touched a lot of issues. Earlier on that year, President Uhuru Kenyatta had come to Zambia, paid a courtesy call on him. So he talked about Kenyatta's father as well and the fond memories he had with these liberation leaders of Africa who saw a lot of their countries into independence.
Yeah, that's just incredible. I mean, he's one of the surviving liberation heroes. Thank you so much for your time, Kwanguli Wewe, from Zambia's Hot FM, reflecting on the breaking news we're running here on The Lead. Zambia's founding president, Kenneth Kaunda, has died.